good morning. Just 4 days to go in this summer window. We're into the final stretch and we're expecting drama, plenty of it as well. Time is running out for teams to get the deals over the line, and there are still some massive moves in the pipeline. What about Nicolas Jackson? He's a wanted man. Could Bayern Munich be his next destination? A very good morning to you at home, and to former Wales, Swansea and Everton defender Ashley Williams joins us, and European football expert Andy Brassell is in the studio as well. Great to have you both with us. Finally, it looks like there has been a breakthrough between Chelsea and Manchester United regarding a deal for Alejandro Garnacho. A deal is now closed with a compromise to be reached regarding the valuation. Ashley, it feels like now we can say, with 4 days to go in the window, that Alejandro Garnacho will probably be a Chelsea player. But given it's a World Cup year as well, he's been left out of the Argentina squad for the upcoming games. How much does Alejandro Garnacho need this move?
Yeah, he's desperate. I think he's made that clear from the start. He wanted to go to Chelsea. That was his preferred team. It's a good move for Manchester United. Obviously, he's got no desire to play for Manchester United anymore. As you said, he needs to get back into that Argentina squad. So that's where he wants to go. So if this move does go ahead and he gets into that Chelsea club, it's now down to him. I think it's time for him to start showing what he can do regularly, week in, week out. And he's got no more excuses. He can't say he's unhappy, because this is exactly what he wanted. Whether he fits into that system or not, or where he fits in and how they use him, is I'm not sure yet. But for him himself as a player, he wanted this. He's got it, so now it's time to let his actions do the talking.
Andy, is this a risk for Chelsea in any way, given the situation Alejandro Garnacho finds himself in at United?
I mean, it's less of a risk than if they'd have paid what United actually wanted, but it's still a risk, definitely, because the potential's been obvious for a while. But that we're still talking about potential, I think, is a bit of a concern, because you would have expected him to progress faster. I guess this has been a recurrent problem for Manchester United, isn't it? You've got a player. Can you make him into what he really should be? And there have been so many of those players at Manchester United who haven't turned into that player. So now the onus is on Maresca, is on his team, is on Chelsea to make him into what he should be. But they've clearly been looking for that wide player for quite a long time. That they didn't feel that Jadon Sancho was it, so they've gone with Garnacho instead. Yeah,
it's interesting about Alejandro Garnacho, because like you say, you're not quite sure actually where he fits in, but there's a real opportunity there with Jamie Gittins, really the only rather recognised left winger. If Alejandro Garnacho comes in and sorts himself out, gets focused, there's a real chance that he could nail down that starting spot, given that Gittins only came in the summer. Yeah,
I think you nailed it there as well. It's about him mentally being a professional now, and I think sometimes you see a little bit the odd tantrum here. Sometimes he does a bit more talking off the pitch than he should do on the pitch. We've all seen the flashes of what he can do. He's clearly a good football player, but what he needs to do now, if he gets this move, is settle down and make that position his position now. I mean, we was talking off camera before that attacking players sometimes find themselves in and out the squad, in and out the starting 11 quite regular. But for him, he needs to be that good at Chelsea where, because there's an opening there, he starts all the time. Every week he's the first name on the team sheet for that position.
But is like we say about the risk, what happens if Alejandro Garnacho doesn't nail down a starting space and he finds himself on the bench at Chelsea? Are we then in the same position that he was in at United, or do you think it will be different?
Well, maybe. Look, I think Maresca is pretty much... He demands players to give everything off the ball. And that has been, I think, one of the major problems with Garnacho. You haven't really seen... On the ball, he looks great for a lot of the time, and then when United haven't got the ball, you're like, come on, I want to see a bit more. And I can't believe that Maresca will let him get away with that. And when you look at the competition, as you say, with Jamie Gittins, someone who started last season with Dortmund brilliantly, didn't finish last season brilliantly, and again has an enormous lot to prove. If you think of the sort of players that Chelsea have gone with in recent years, that sort of young and hungry, the competition is so intense. It's like you said, actually, there's not just no excuses for Garnacho, but if he doesn't give everything, it just won't happen for him.
And I think on that point as well, which I'm sure we'll touch on, all Manchester United players kind of have an excuse at the minute, because they've come from Manchester United and nobody's playing good. Well, now he's going to a team that are actually performing with a manager that looks like he knows how to get a tune out of his players. So if he isn't doing the work off the ball, or if his end product isn't good enough, it is now on Garnacho, not on. He can't blame anybody else. He can't blame the team or the club because the rest of the players are doing the business.
Yeah, he absolutely can't. But he is young, and there is still so much potential, I think, in Alejandro Garnacho. To Chelsea now, Nicolas Jackson will only be allowed to leave in a permanent move or a loan with an obligation to buy. Bayern Munich and Aston Villa want Jackson, and there are expected to be more developments when Alexander Isak's future at Newcastle United as a result. Feels like there's a domino effect of strikers going around at the moment. But actually, one thing is for sure, and that's Nicolas Jackson is still very raw. It's only his first couple of seasons playing as a centre forward, 24 years old, still got a lot to give. I mean, I don't want him to leave Chelsea, but it feels like naturally this is the only way it's going to end. But I think he'd be a very good signing for a lot of clubs.
Yeah, why is he raw at 24? I don't like.
I think maybe raw in like the position,
right? Okay.
Because he's not.
But
he's only come to Chelsea and played as a.
I think he's raw anyway. Like technically,
yeah.
I don't really get it. Would he suit like an Aston Villa who need to replace some of the players they've lost? Probably, yeah. I think, with a little bit of confidence, he could probably do a good job in the number 9. He hasn't filled me with loads of confidence playing for Chelsea. He sometimes looks like, I don't know, a little bit clumsy. But yeah, he's another player, just similar like what we're talking about this morning, that needs to go and find somewhere, because as football players, you train all week and you get it, you do all your work and you prepare. And if you don't have a game on the weekend, your week is just gone and you're miserable. So football players want to be playing and knowing that they're in the manager's thoughts to start. So for Nicolas Jackson, yeah, it will be a good move for him if he does get out.
Yeah, well, what about Christopher Nkunku? Because AC Milan are the latest club to show interest in him. RB Leipzig have held talks with Chelsea for Nkunku, while Bayern Munich had an approach knocked back to take him on loan. Chelsea and Nkunku only want a permanent deal, and Chelsea value him at £43 million this summer. And are you surprised by this AC Milan interest? And if it is concrete and it is legit, is there going to have to be a compromise from some parts of this?
Yeah, I think that it might have to be a loan with an obligation to buy, which is the basis on which Bayern are interested in Nicolas Jackson, for example, because they're limited in what they can spend for the rest of this summer. There's less money at Milan, but they need 2 strikers. They're fed up of waiting for Konrad Harder to come from Sporting, because again, you talked about that domino effect. Sporting are waiting for a replacement to come in, so they're getting a little bit panicked as the time ticks down towards the deadline. Look, he'd be a massive upgrade on what they've got. And Nkunku needs to play, and with the World Cup coming up next summer, he will think he's got a chance of getting in that squad, and he's got the ability to get in that squad. The thing with Milan is they need to get 2 strikers in before deadline. They're aware of that. So quite how this deal is structured, I think, is quite interesting, especially when we know the money that he earns at Chelsea and Nkunku is way beyond what Milan can afford to pay him.